In life, you're only guaranteed two things: taxes and death. I learned that in 6th grade from a substitute teacher, and my depression has never gotten any better. Let's explore taxes and death. Taxes. People hate them, the government loves them, and everyone's required to pay their fair share. Except the rich, cause they can afford to not pay taxes. Death. People hate them, funeral directors love them, and we can't escape it. Death is a common theme in anime, as it's such an easy way to relate the audience with its characters, or give the characters the extra power they need to overcome a hurdle. But what a lot of anime are afraid to do is explore the effect of death after it's happened. And that's what Summertime Rendering is all about. It reminds you to never take what you have today for granted, because tomorrow, it just might not be there. And to also never trust anybody, not even yourself. But we'll get to that part later.
Shinpei returns to the island he grew up on after being away to Tokyo for 2 years, but he's not back for shits and giggles. No, he's here to go to the funeral of his childhood friend, Ushio Kofune. She wasn't just any normal old childhood friend, she was like family.
You don't turn your back on family.
Shinpei's parents died when he was young, so the Kofune family took him in and raised him as one of their own. On his boat ride to the island, he has a dream about Ushio. As he wakes up, he bumps into someone and gets the shit slapped out of him. As you might know, every good anime has to have some kind of fan service scene within the first 6 episodes. It's just common sense. But Summertime Rendering doubles down and goes the extra distance to exceed that quota. There's not 1, but 2 fan service scenes in the first episode. And not only is it in the first episode, but they're both within the first 3.5 minutes. If that isn't a sign for good things to come, I don't know what is. And don't worry, that's just his adopted sister Mio, so it passes the incest check. Now, you can call me a pervert, though I prefer the term cultured, but this pattern seemed awfully familiar. I knew it. Shinpei goes to Ushio's funeral, and we get introduced to Shiori Kobayakawa, the girl Ushio died saving, and to Shinpei's old friend, Sohi Shigata. So, later that night, tells Shinpei that in Ushio's so-called autopsy, there was bruising around her neck, like she'd been strangled. This brings into question whether this was a freak accident, or if there was foul play involved. Shinpei later asks Mio about the details surrounding Ushio's death, and Mio tells him that they saw Ushio's doppelganger appear and disappear right before their eyes. Then, a suspicious man named Nezu, a guy who looks like his trip to Texas really got to his head, overhears their conversation, and tells them that it was probably a shadow, a curse-like entity that for some reason only haunts this island. After that wild encounter, they head up the hill and find the lady that Shinpei motorboated at the beginning of the episode shot. Twice. And here is where Shinpei learns a valuable lesson. Trust nobody.
Not even yourself.
Did I mention this anime is basically no Isekai ReZero? Except, our protagonist has no other powers other than return by death. After discovering the existence of shadows, Shinpei now has to start playing IRL Among Us to find out if the people he's talking to are real or not. And he's super thorough about it too. He won't be fooled by lame excuses to get out of his sight, like taking a bath.
Personally speaking, I wouldn't watch this anime cause it's not my cup of tea. But if a homie tells me eating dog shit off the ground hits different, I might have to just give it a try. And sticking with that same principle, we started watching Summertime Rendering off a recommendation from a friend, saying it had a good hook and interesting concept to it. That all is true, but I don't like horror or suspense in any type of content I consume, so you best believe I was shitting bricks while watching, cause Summertime Rendering is very suspenseful. It'll keep you on the edge of your seat, wondering what'll happen next, and then nothing happens. But then something does happen, and Shinpei gets back to his last save, at which point, you would cue the ReZero music. And speaking of ReZero, Summertime Rendering feels a lot like ReZero in more ways than one, like the foreshadowing and the main character's ability. The amount of foreshadowing the anime does is actually incredible, and it leaves the viewer having to actually pay attention to details and recall past actions that will eventually be brought back into relevance. These little details give you clues on a story and future events, and sometimes hints at something bigger, but you never really know how much of an effect it's gonna have on the rest of the story. Or you could be focused on that stupid camera flash the whole time and it never has any significance to anything. Or does it?
I'm in danger!
Nothing ever seems right, and you always feel like something's out of place, which adds an unsettling and eerie vibe to the whole show. It really makes you feel immersed as the tension builds during confrontations with these mysterious beings, who are strangely accurate at depicting American life.
ここはアメリカとちゃうんですから。
The build-ups to these situations are subtle, but not a single moment is wasted on useless elements that eventually will fall off and get ratioed like a certain main character from My Hero Academia. One element in the story that I actually enjoy is the fact that these shadows can make a copy of anybody they wanted to, and other people can't spot the difference between the real ones and the fakes by looking. This adds another difficult hurdle that the main character inevitably has to overcome, and it's not that pussy shit like mental block. Nah, he's dealing with some actual demons as a regular human being with a power that only works when he dies. With that being said, I can now add this anime to the long list of anime I wouldn't want to be isekai into.
Not being able to trust anybody makes it difficult for not only the main character, but also the viewer, as you're not sure you're even looking through the lens of the real main character. It really makes you question who the enemy is, and if he kills everybody across the ocean, will they finally be free? Oops, wrong anime. With only 5 episodes out of 25 out right now, it's fair to say that there's a lot more summertime rendering to be watched. And if they keep up the same energy as they did with the first few episodes, I think this will turn out to be a pretty decent adaptation that reaches the end of the actual manga itself, which you don't see too often these days. That's gonna be it for us now, so until next time, peace.